Welcome back into another episode of George in the Jungle, presented as always by Remington Tavern, coming at you live from the Cincy Light Studios. Remington Tavern can be found at 8892 Glendale Milford Road, 45140, where they have their daily happy hour from 3 to 7 p.m., $5 bourbon whiskey Wednesdays, bottle cap bonanza Thursdays from 7 to 9 p.m. You can check them out on Instagram at RemyTavCincy. That's REMITAV, Cincy with a Y, or follow them on Facebook. While you're there, be sure to grab yourself an ice cold Cincy Light on draft. You'd be doing yourself a disservice not to. Support the team while you're there at Remington Tavern with that Cincy Light. All right, George.
Yes,
we
sir.
are what, 48 hours away?
48 hours from right now, they'll be kicking it off at Arrowhead.
We are. It is quickly coming upon us, and I am really, really excited to get this season going. But before we get into any of that, big news out of the University of Cincinnati today. Big news. Jordan Bischel extended through 2031.
Yeah, I mean, remember there was a time where you kind of knew who the baseball coach was, but you kind of didn't, and you knew they had a baseball program. No, this has been great what's been going on, and now that they're in the Big 12 and gotten more attention, made the NCAA tournament. And this guy just seems to have whatever magic formula it is needed to make Northern teams win, be relevant. And it's really funny. I was just talking to someone over the weekend. I'm like, UC needs to make sure they keep this baseball coach happy because, you know, you read about what their recruiting classes are shaping up as, you know, coming in this year, going into next year. It looks like he's got a great foundation now, and they're going to continue to be able to keep elevating that program. And they're in a conference where you can do that now. And the American was good baseball, actually, but it's not like, you know, you go into a living room and say, hey, you're going to be playing in the American, you're going to be playing, you know, good baseball programs. But now that you're in the Big 12, that just seems like it's a little more elevated, and baseball's a little more important there. And certainly it's become important at UC because you can't deny the excitement from this season. You know, they're drawing fans now. And Bishel ball's taken off, man, and it's great to see. And I'm glad they made that proactive move today, getting him under contract through 2031. Who knows how solid that is all the way through, and I would love to see it at some point. But he seems happy here right now, and certainly UC should be happy to have him. So to me, that is a huge positive, not just for the baseball program, for the whole university.
Yeah, he's 65 and 61 now at UC, over the course of what, 2 seasons?
Mm-hmm.
He led the team to its first NCAA tournament since 2019. Bear in mind, this school has only been to 7 total ever. So he's got one of those notches in his belt. That all said, I mean, you got 30 wins last season. First time that they'd done that, in consecutive seasons, in 3 straight, since they did it in 3 straight years from 99 to 2001. They also got 6 wins over ranked opponents, which is the most ever in a season by UC. So much deserved. Like you said, I mean, you had to do what you had to do to make sure you kept him around. The way he talks, seems very, very happy here. I think the only thing he's missing currently at this point is simply a sponsorship from Diet Mountain Dew. That's it.
Yeah, that should come soon, I hope.
I hope so too. But I don't know. He seems to just really have the players as much as any coach I've ever seen, as far as baseball goes. He's got their buy-in all the way. He seems to know what he's doing to recruit guys who can play in this climate, because that's not always an easy thing either. you can't just simply bring anybody in. I don't believe.
Yeah. Some guys just have a knack for something, and he has a knack for this. He really does. He knows what he wants. He knows what he's looking for. He knows how he wants his players to play, and he gets them to do it. And that's, there's not a whole lot more you can say about coaches who can bring all that together like that. They have the vision, they know how to execute it, and they do it. And not only do they do it, as you said, the kids buy in and they get them on that same page. And go Bischel ball. Here we go. A few more years, hopefully many more.
I was going to say, I hope this is a guy that we're talking about in this type of a light for a decade or two. I'd be totally okay with that.
No doubt about it.
That said, there was actually bigger Bearcat news, and I don't want to spend much time on this at all because
you always say that, but you always bring it up.
It's news. We do a news show, George.
Okay.
Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift are engaged. I don't have an opinion. I don't care. I wish them well.
Can I be honest about something?
Go right ahead.
Today, I get out of an appointment I had, and I turn on the radio, and I'm on a kind of a sports talk thing. They're talking about it. So it must have just come out recently. They're talking about it. So I'm like, I can't take this. I can't take it. I don't care. I don't. I'm sorry. Congratulations. I'm happy, but that's it. Lots of people get married that I don't know very well. So I switched to another talk show, a news talk show. They're talking about it. Okay. So I'm like, screw this. I'm going back up the dial to an all sports station. They're talking about it. So boop,
big news.
There went Amazon Music.
There you go.
I'm like, I can't take it. Okay. They're engaged, and maybe they'll set a date. And what else do I need to know?
I saw somebody on Twitter said that they said that they should get married at Nippert and sell tickets in the stadium as an NIL.
They should
fundraiser.
That would be a big fundraiser. I probably would have to watch it online or something but I mean, if she sang one song, you'd have every Swiftie in the tri-state there and then some.
I just don't think Nippert's big enough to actually do what they want with anyway. I don't know.
You saw what those tickets go for at her concerts, though. I mean,
bananas.
I mean,
I think Chad has taken his daughter to sit outside of a stadium and listen. Not even having tickets to get in, but just sit outside and listen.
I'm terrible about that stuff, though. I'm just terrible. I like music. Now, I can't name one song of hers. I can't. I seriously could not tell you. But I'm a weirdo in that you could get the Rolling Stones to play across the street from my place. If it's going to cost too much, I'm just not going. If the Beatles somehow reunited and played a concert down at Great American, but if they're charging, $300 a ticket, I can listen to the Beatles anytime I want. So I don't know. I know there's something to be said about live concerts and all that. And these people are remarkable performers. They're unbelievable what they do. But I just can't pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars to go watch them for 2 hours. I just can't. I'm a tight ass, I guess.
Well,
However, I would probably pay that to go watch the Ryder Cup. So what's that make me, a dork?
A fan of golf. A fan of golf.
It's crazy.
Moving gears. It is kickoff week for your 2025 Bearcats football season. You have the unofficial, we'll call it, depth chart that was released yesterday. I don't know if you've had a chance to look over it or not. There's plenty of oars on it this season, which we're growing fairly accustomed to at this point. But your starting offensive line, Joe Cotton at left tackle, Evan Tengestal or Xavier Lozowicki. Starting center, Gavin Gerhardt. Starting right guard, Taryn Tayo. Starting right tackle, DeAndre Buford. Starting tight end, Joe Royer. Wide receiver 1, Jeff Caldwell or Noah Jennings. Wide receiver 2, Cyrus Allen. Wide receiver 3, Caleb Goody. Quarterback, Brendan Sorsby. Running back, Evan Pryor or Tawee Walker. Any surprises there for you?
Maybe a little with the with Caldwell. And, I there's going to be a whole lot of mixing and matching there with the wide receivers, I think. That one a little bit. Maybe not so much with the maybe even at left guard a little bit too, but not. I could see where that would be that way. The defense, I kind of expected it. All of them that you see there, I think there's like 3 positions that have the award.
I was going to get the defense. I'm starting an offense.
I figured that was really going to be tough. And trying to stack those guys up as 1, 2, 3. A lot of them are just as talented as the next guy, and that's a good problem to have. So I expected that there. The other ones, just, on special teams, there's a bunch of them. There always is. But long snapper, like you usually have a guy that's a long snapper, and that's kind of an aura. That kind of
getting ahead of me.
Huh?
You're getting ahead of me. I just wanted to talk about the offense so far.
Oh, okay. George. Let me go back then to the offense. No, the only thing that surprises me a little is the with Caldwell, but I understand Noah Jennings has played very well in camp, and it's good to have that kind of talent at a position that's been a little subpar here lately.
I think a little subpar is probably being entirely too kind. Take off your kid gloves, George. Receiver's been bad. It's not been anything that we were accustomed to seeing under Luke Fickell. The Xavier Hendrickson and company is really what it amounted to for the last 2 years.
Yep.
That said, I think it's a great thing that you got 4 guys that you can slot in as starters. Noah Jennings, I know Chad raved about him as far as being one of the stars of camp. And he comes in essentially as your 4th, 1A, 1B, then 2 and 3. So I don't know. I'll take it if he's that good. Running back, I'm curious to see what the touches look like at the end of the day between Pryor and Walker. I don't know. I think Coach talked about playing the hot hand, if I'm not mistaken. Didn't?
Yes, in fact, and he said it this way, that they would probably give them a shot, give each of them a shot. And when I say each of them, it could be 3 guys. And then ride the hot hand. But, let's just say Walker goes out there and chews up yards on that first drive. You got a running back out there, right?
I'd hope so. That doesn't mean that you don't.
That's what he means by playing the hot hand too. It's not like you just, once the game starts, a lot of that, stuff goes out the window depending on what's going on with the game. So I think he would stick with a hot hand if he hasn't played another guy yet. I'm sure that's what. I mean, that by far makes the most sense. But that's another position where I'm kind of glad, you do like the hot hand, and sometimes it takes a guy a little bit to get rolling. But I understand where he's coming from, and if you have those kind of guys, you got to roll with the hot hand, and I like that. I just hope, he doesn't feel obligated to shove somebody in there and get them touches when another guy's already rolling.
And maybe you run into a situation where you use Evan Pryor as like your 3rd down back, or you're getting Walker a breath.
And I'm sure they'll do that. I'm sure It won't just be, hey, only this guy's playing in this series. Because they're going to have different downs and distance situations where, okay, we might need Pryor out of the backfield on here, swing him out. And so it'll depend on those situations. But it's good he has those options. And I feel good about the options he has in that part of the game too. The running back room and even though Kiner is no longer around, I still feel very good about what they have at running back going into the season.
Yeah, Manny Covey and Chance Williams, I'm sure I'll get some. I don't know if they'll necessarily get a ton of touches against Nebraska, but I think against Bowling Green and FCS 1 or whatever the week 3 opponent is, I think they'll probably see the ball a bit more in those games. That said, moving on to defense, your first defensive end position, you have Micah Coleman or CJ McCray or Marquez Parker. Then you've got Dante Corleone at your nose tackle. You've got Jalen Hunt at your other defensive end spot. Then you've got Simeon Coleman or Jonathan Thompson, your incumbent, at the will spot. You've got Jack Dingle taking the mic and Jake Golday at Sam. At the star position, you've got Jaquan Sanks or Antoine Peak Jr. or Xavier Williams. At the cornerback 1, you've got Matthew McDoom. Cornerback 2, you've got Logan Wilson. At free safety, you've got Trayvon Gallagher. And at strong safety, you've got Christian Harrison or Taden Barnes. Anything stand out to you there?
So it's 4 oars on defense, right? Is that what I'm looking
Plenty
at?
of them. Well, I mean, you got two alone on the first defensive end spot. You've got another oar at the will. You've got 2 more at the star and 1 more than at strong safety.
Yeah, it's interesting, and it tells me that they had a pretty good camp. And I think it's a good thing. It could be a bad thing where somebody didn't separate themselves as the definite man, but this seems more to me kind of a salute to the depth that they have now that they did not have these previous 2 seasons under Satterfield. And that makes me feel better going into this season. I think, you drill down and see what these guys do when the real stuff starts flying. But it's good to have those options. It's very good to have those options. You never get through a season without some major injuries, and that they trust these guys that much that they may start them. Any one of them could start. That's not a bad thing in my book.
By all counts, it sounds like Tyson Vite's going to be rotating quite a bit as the entire defensive line and secondary. I think he specifically mentioned, and I'd be surprised if he isn't rotating. Obviously, when you have an or as one of your linebacker spots, I think you're going to see some rotation there as well.
And I'm all for that because defense is so tough. You get so dog tired. And it was funny to hear the Godfather in that interview. Maybe it was last week. They were talking about where he kind of got stuck on the field for a little bit in a game because of injuries and whatnot.
Right.
And it was like, you guys have no idea how tired we get out there play after play after play after, those long drives can drain you. And it's good that they have that kind of depth for a little more of a rotation. And I honestly think it's a good thing. I think, if you don't have that kind of competition at these positions, then you probably missed on a lot of guys you brought in.
Well, and I was going to get to the point, and you kind of segued me right into it, is just that this is a huge indication that he's got his guys at this point, right? Like last year, he came in late. He wasn't part of the recruiting cycle, wasn't part of the transfer window when he got hired in. So he didn't necessarily have who he would want on defense. And I think this is probably an indication that things are much closer to where he wants it to be when he has all of these guys rotating in and out, as opposed to just kind of figuring out what you can do with what you got. I think this is an entirely different opportunity for Tyson Vite this season.
Yeah, and that's so hard to do. I mean, like you said, he gets one cycle to do this, basically.
Yeah.
And it looks like he's hit on some guys that they looked at. And, this goes back to Zach Grant and those guys doing all the scouting and looking at kids during the season while Vite's looking at the next opponent. And they were able to identify some guys that fit what he does. And so I hope that's the optimistic way of looking at this, but that's how I'm going to be until I'm proven otherwise. I think this is a very good thing. And they talked about it all through. I mean, even up to the last week. And and I saw the interview with the safeties coach, and he's like, this kid can play here, or this kid can play here, or this kid can play. We don't know, and it's like until we get the game planning for Nebraska, I'm not sure who I'm going to run out there as the starting safety. So it's really interesting, and to me, it's a plus.
2 true sophomores starting on your defense. Are you concerned?
Not if they're good. I mean, you play the best guys that you have, and if they're young guys, Simeon Coleman, if he's the guy, then you roll.
He can hit.
Make him
he can
play.
hit.
Yeah, I mean that's look. This happens in every sport. You don't know what you have till you get them, on campus or in your locker room down at the Bengals with a rookie or an undrafted rookie, and we'll get into them later. But, they kept some guys that weren't drafted that, they're just names that are signed after the draft that you're like, okay. And they've got some guys that could play some key minutes for them. So, yeah, I'm not concerned about it because, yes, you love experience, but you also love guys who make plays. And if those guys are making the plays, Nebraska's starting a sophomore quarterback, but I'm sure they feel really good, about Dylan Raiola coming in there and doing some things against the Bearcats on Thursday night.
Fair enough. Special teams, long snapper Eli Stein or Weston Simmons, holder Max Fletcher, kicker and kickoff is Steven Rusnick, punter Max Fletcher, punt returner Logan Wilson or Manny Covey, kick returner Logan Wilson or Matthew McDoom or Manny Covey or Caleb Goody. One of the things that I know that Chad's talked about quite a bit is how special teams, you have a lot of guys who are starters on special teams, and we kind of see some of that here on the depth chart. I think it's a good thing for the starters to be pushing guys to be better, not just think that because you are second or third string, you're just entitled to these special teams spots. I think that if you want special teams to be truly special, you have to have starters out there at this level.
Yeah, and it, it works that way in the NFL sometimes with punt return guys or kick return. You put the best guy out there that gives you a chance. And I remember, Adam Jones played cornerback for the Bengals and also returned punts. And can you imagine how dog tired you would get as a corner playing in the NFL? And I mean, you're running your butt off every play pretty much. And then you got to go back there and field a punt with these guys bearing down. But he loved it. He freaking loved it. He was mad if he wasn't returning punts. And you got to have guys like that and guys that aren't afraid to get back out there, who aren't looking to go over to the bench and get an oxygen mask on. You want them to stay on the field, and you can't, that's why you got to admire Travis Hunter so much. That guy wants to play every freaking play, and I don't know how he does it. I don't know how it'll work in the NFL, but I guarantee he'll be successful.
Pretty crazy. As we said, though, kickoff, I mean, right now we'd be approaching the end of the first quarter or getting close to it in 48 hours.
Hopefully 48 hours from now, the Bearcats have let's make it easy on them. Let's say they have about 45 yards rushing at this point, and they're banging on the door in the red zone.
Fair enough. Any final parting thoughts on that game before we switch gears here, George?
Well, here's one of my things that I was thinking of as we're going through this, and you look at this opening weekend of college football, and there are so many great games. There's a great game up in Columbus. There's great games in every time slot on Saturday. Then you have a night game Sunday that's a good one. I think there's one Monday that's a good one. That might be the Big 12 game. There's so many good games to start the season, and you think of UC playing Nebraska. And, Nebraska's in kind of a we don't know what we have. They've got 15 portal guys they brought in. A lot of those are expected to contribute. They've got basically a new offensive coordinator, a defensive coordinator who didn't call the defense last year, so he's new, a new special teams coordinator. So they're kind of in the boat too of what do we have? How are we going to respond? And do we have the right guys in the right spots? And it makes for such an interesting dynamic when you have a Cincinnati open the season against Nebraska, because neither one knows exactly what they have. And I'll throw this out to you. Do you think college football needs like one scrimmage with a team that is not your own before the season starts to knock some of that rust off and kind of find out what you got before you go into these key match? I mean, this is a series. This isn't, a lot of teams, and I would rather UC open with Northwestern State than Nebraska so they can kind of get the kinks out and figure out what they have. But here you go against a team that even if you faced in week 10 would still be a hell of a matchup. But by week 10, you know what you got.
If you wanted to make that argument, every team has that opportunity in scheduling. They can definitely schedule a Bowling Green week 1 as opposed to Nebraska. That said, you may actually get your best shot at a team if you play them week 1, because they also haven't knocked off that rust yet. So I can see the argument either way. I totally understand what you're saying, but I think that's on.
I don't know if it's better for the game or not. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there because you see, Iowa State and Kansas State going at it in Ireland. I don't think they had a choice to turn that game down. That was just a game that the Big 12, puts on and throws it overseas. And it's like, hey, you two are going at it, which is kind of a rivalry game.
It is.
And what a hell of a game that was.
Yeah. I remember
one time UC going into the season, and this may have been, I forget which year this was. They opened with Rutgers, though, and that's back when Rutgers was damn good in the Big East. UC was expected to be okay, and UC just mopped the floor with them. I mean, it was like UC went in there and stomped them. And I can't remember if that was a Kelly year or a Butch Jones year, but it was very surprising. But it's just like you never know what you're going to get in that first week, and you really don't know when you're going against an opponent that has similar talent and pedigree. And that's why this is very intriguing. But I don't know. I just wonder if that would be good for the game. And then the first time you lose a star quarterback in that stupid scrimmage, that would be the end of them. But I don't know. I guess I know this. My butt's going to be watching a lot of football this weekend because there's great games, like I said, in every time slot. And starting Thursday night, I can't wait. I don't know what to expect, but I can't wait.
We'll find out. We are 48 hours away from being in the middle of all of it. So.
And that's the beauty of sports too, because if you do go to a concert and you pay $250, you know what you're going to get, right? You're going to hear the songs and you're probably going to like them and all that. This, you don't know. And I love that about sports. We don't know. It could be a 52-3 game. You just don't know.
Fair enough.
If it is, it better be the red and black on top and not the red and whatever the hell.
Well, it is. It is a big day in the NFL today. It is National Cut Day, and National Cut Day ends up being the end of a dream for some people. It ends up being dreams come true for others. And the Bengals were no stranger to that today. But before we get into all of that, we will get into the bigger news from yesterday as our boy, Trey Hendrickson, signs a deal for essentially getting paid more this season. And the holdout is over. He is eligible to be a free agent at the end of this season. I think there is a snowball's chance in hell if he has a good season that the Bengals won't actually tag him, which will start an entirely new drama with one Trey Hendrickson. We'll see how that goes. But in any case, he said everything that he needed to say. He took the high road and was all class after he signed his deal. He's just I think he's a good dude. I think he has a poor manager giving him terrible advice.
I think the Bengals won this thing.
I mean, you could have
got what they wanted. They were going to pay him $30 million.
By all reports, it sounds like he turned down $95 million for 3 years only because he wasn't guaranteed past the second year.
Right.
And I think that was the way to go if you're Trey Hendrickson. Truthfully,
I would have. So, yeah, I honest to God, when I heard the deal and it's 1 year, I'm like, I got to know what. And if that's accurate, and I would think by now we would know if it's not. The
29
Bengals won this thing.
29 with $1 million incentive if he plays 60% of the snaps, and the Bengals make the playoffs.
Well, I think it's a good deal for the Bengals because they're not paying anything past this year that they don't want to pay.
Right.
They do have the tag option, and this year, what did I read the tag would be for a defensive end this year? About $25 million or something.
I think it was 26.5 for this season, and I believe that shoots up to like 30, 32, 36, something like that for next season.
So if they tag him, they're way ahead on that, right? Or well, maybe not way ahead, but they're and they can do it year by year. I mean, I just think that the stubborn old Bengals, now it looks like they kind of knew what they were doing. And they kind of had Trey a little bit over a barrel, but Trey wants to win a damn Super Bowl, and he's got a team that could do it. Like they're going to be a darn good team this year. There's no doubt about it. And he wants to be a part of that. And it's a great chance to go deep in the playoffs. And, I'm happy. I'm glad he's playing. I love the guy. I love his passion. And I just wish it never would have gone through all this stuff, but that's what happens. And, the Bengals, to me, come out smelling like a rose on this.
I won't go that far. I think that the media has at least painted the Bengals terribly the entire offseason. Despite the Bengals getting done what everyone in the media said that we would never get done. You sign Jamar, you sign T, you sign Trey. You bring all three of them back. And everyone said all offseason, any talking head that had a microphone that was asked about the Bengals said that we would not get all three deals done. And here they are. They did get all three deals done. Now, that said, the Bengals can't get out. I said it last week. I still believe that they can't get out of their own way as far as good PR opportunities go. You could have gotten this deal done weeks ago. And I wonder if
I don't think they would have gotten it done weeks ago if it was just a 1-year deal.
I just wonder if other free agents see the way that negotiations have gone in the public light, and if that scares them away from negotiating with the Bengals in the future, or even any type of agent. I get a little nervous about those types of things. And you couple that with the other news of this week where Boomer Esiason said that he was invited to the Ring of Honor game via an email that seems like it was a mass email, not personalized whatsoever, with a coupon for a stay somewhere, no airfare included, no hotel included. I believe the tickets are just standard stadium seats. They're not even in a suite, which you can't tell. Just throw them in. Throw one Ring of Honor guest into every suite you have up there. I'm sure whoever has those suites would love to have a Bengal who is in the Ring of Honor in there with them for a game. And without
would actually pay extra for that.
I'm saying, this is just another situation where the Bengals can't ever get out of their own way.
I don't know how this happens. I don't know how this happens. I mean, you sit here and you think, this is a Ring of Honor. The dude's name is on the stadium.
Yes.
And you're an NFL team. You're printing money. I'm sorry, the NFL prints money. And you can't just say, screw it, we're going to suck up, a hotel room for each guy that's in the Ring of Honor that's going to come.
It's not for the season. It's one day. It's one game. And
Right.
you made it the Ring of Honor game that you started this Ring of Honor. You need to own the Ring of Honor and take care of your dudes. It's not like your Ring of Honor is 40 men deep.
And it's easy to beat up on the Bengals, and we've done it I've done it since the early 90s when it just fell apart and was god-awful. It's almost too easy. But they make it too easy with stuff like this. And then, okay, look at the other end of the banks, and you can bitch and moan about the Reds ownership, and there's things they don't do right with the player, but they've got a nice Hall of Fame. They do everything upright. Somehow there's improvements to that stadium every year. And then at the other end of the banks is a team that's making a hell of a lot more money in a league that is way more successful right now, that gets a way better television deal than Major League Baseball franchises in places like Cincinnati could only dream about. They can't get that kind of money out of their television deal. It just doesn't work that way in baseball. So, and they can do those things. And then the other team at the other end of the banks does this. Like, they don't have a Hall of Fame. They had to just basically be dragged over the line to do the Ring of Honor. And then when they do the Ring of Honor, things like this happen.
I don't understand.
The other thing that was funny about that note with Boomer reading it is like, and I got to let them know they want to know by August 22nd. Oh, today's August 22nd. Like, did he just get that email that day and they want to know by the close of business or something?
I believe Corey Dillon said that he didn't even get the invite.
That's just, come on. First of all, they're in your Ring of Honor. You don't have their address. You can't send them like a certified letter that
just call
details and, hey, you're coming in. And,
pick up the phone.
Yeah, make a call. Right. I don't know, man. I can't help you on that one. This has been going on since the beginning, since 1968. This has been back then it was a lot different, but really since Paul Brown passed away and the rest of the family took over, there's just been, it seems like every year there's a story like this that you just can't believe. I don't understand.
So, in any case, we'll get to your cuts. Looks like as far as your injured reserve list, Dejon Anthony and safety Dejon Anthony and defensive end Cedric Johnson, they are both on your injured reserve. Eric All remains on the PUP. Your tight end Eric All. Then as far as cuts go, running back Gary Brightwell, cornerback Jalen Davis, linebacker Joe Giles Harris, long snapper Cal Adamitis.
That one surprised me.
That one surprised a lot of people as the rookie long snapper out of Michigan makes the team. Offensive tackle Devin Cochran, offensive tackle Andrew Coker, offensive tackle Caleb Etienne, defensive end Raymond Johnson III, safety Jalen Key, guard Jackson Kirkland, cornerback Braylon Lux, wide receiver Jamoy Mays. Sorry, Bearcat. Tight end, Tanner McLaughlin. Center, Seth McLaughlin. Halfback, Kendall Milton. Wide receiver, Jordan Moore. Linebacker, Mema Njongmeta. Wide receiver, Kendrick Pryor. Quarterback, Desmond Ritter. Defensive end, Isaiah Thomas. Guard, Cordell Volson. And wide receiver, Isaiah Williams. Any surprises there for you, George?
Well, Adamitis was the big one. No. I think that's, I'm surprised they kept 5 tight ends. I
have a theory on that. I think they've made it to where they had to keep 53. They can be okay if they don't get anybody that they're placing waiver claims on, but they've made it really easy to drop somebody if they do get somebody from the waiver
and that's
claims.
What they've done. They kind of, they didn't quite keep their best 53 regardless of position.
Right.
But it was almost like that because there's other moves coming. There's going to be a couple of shoes dropped tomorrow. I got a feeling.
I hope there's about 4. Personally,
You got to get a safety. You got to get another offensive lineman, right?
Mhm. Yep. At the very least, those two.
Yeah. They've got some defense. They've got some God, I almost said they can trim some fat on the defensive line because they kept so many of those guys. Um,
I almost hope they bring in another cornerback. I'd be okay if they bring in another corner. I think I'd be okay if you say you can trim some fat on the defensive line. I think you could also add somebody on the defensive line, truthfully. So we'll see how that goes.
Well, they kept two of the rookie undrafted guys on as defensive tackles. They got like 6 defensive tackles that are all healthy, by the way, that aren't, the one defensive end is on injured reserve but can come back. They've got plenty of wiggle room and all that. And a lot of those guys you named are going to be back tomorrow on that practice squad. I think Kendall Milton. I think Dez can still be on the.
I think Dez might.
And I think that would be prudent of the Bengals to do that, because it's going to give him, if he doesn't go somewhere else, it'll give him a year in this system. I do think Jake Browning is gone after this year. I think, and I know we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. I felt like, based on what Jake had done in those games, when Joe was out, he was going to be their backup. It was going to be next to impossible for Dez to beat him out based on what he's done in this system with who they have. But I think he can be that guy going forward after this year. And I hope that plays out that way. I really do. So I think some of those guys you're going to see back tomorrow on the practice squad. And it's just going to be interesting to see what they do find out there, because they're like, a lot of these guys who are waived, they got to kind of wait on and see what's out there when they, because they're number 17 or whatever on that list. So it's not like they're going to have their pick of the litter, but they're going to find some useful players, I think.
Well, and here's your 53-man as things currently stand. Quarterback Joe Burrow and Jake Browning, running back Chase Brown and Taj Brooks, with Samaje Perine making his return this season as a Bengal. Receivers T. Higgins, Jermaine Burton, Jamar Chase, preseason darling Mitch Tinsley, and Andre Yosavash and Charlie Jones. Tight end, you've got Mike Gesicki, Tanner Hudson, Drew Sample, Noah Fant, and Cam Grandy. Offensive linemen, you've got Orlando Brown, Cody Ford, Dylan Fairchild, Jalen Rivers, Ted Karras, Matt Lee, Lucas Patrick, and Marius Mims. Only 8 offensive linemen. I'd be shocked if they go into game 1 with only 8.
Yeah, they're going to have to fight. Like right now, well, I guess Jalen Rivers can play tackle or guard. Cody Ford can do that as well. So they do have a couple of backup, linemen who are flexible and can do whatever. But they do need another. They need another.
On defense, you've got Trey Hendrickson, Joseph Osai at defensive end. The other side, defensive end, Shamar Stewart, Miles Murphy, and Cam Sample. At defensive tackle, you've got TJ Slayton, McKinley Jackson, Eric Gregory, and BJ Hill, Chris Jenkins, and Howard Cross III. At linebacker, Logan Wilson, Oren Burks, Demetrius Knight Jr., Barrett Carter, and Shaka Hayward. At corner, you've got Dax Hill, Josh Newton, Cam Taylor-Britt, Marco Wilson, DJ Turner II, and DJ Ivy. At safety, Geno Stone, Tyson Anderson, Jordan Battle, and PJ Jules.
That is a thin position group.
It is. Your kicker, Evan McPherson, punter, Ryan Rico, and long snapper, William Wagner, as we talked about, the rookie from Michigan taking over Adamitis' job.
And I'll be surprised if Adamitis doesn't end up with somebody else. I would love to know what the separation was there between those two. I trust Darren Simmons to make the right call on that. But they both did a heck of a job, and they kept the rookie, which is kind of it's a little bit of a leap of faith. Not that big of a deal, but then it can be. You don't know a long snapper until they mess up.
Well, I wonder if William Wagner was there at Michigan at the same time. Is that where Rico went, or was that? Did he not play?
It was BYU. The other punter.
The other kicker. It was the other. Okay.
Yeah,
It was
the other punter they drafted was. How about that? What a great grab to bring in Ryan Rico last year, and not only let him compete for the job, he earned the job, and good on them for making that move, because you're admitting, boy, did we ever screw up. We drafted a punter and we got to cut him after 1 year. But that's what you got to do. You can't, you keep the best guys.
I've got a couple names that I've circled, George. We'll see who the Bengals end up bringing in. I'll let you know if I had any of them right or not.
Whatever happened to that dude that visited last week? Is he still out there?
Dalton Reisner, he is still out there. He has been he supposedly was offered the veteran minimum by the Cincinnati Bengals, did not want the veteran minimum, did not want to actually be on the bench. He wanted to start. I would be okay if he did start. That all said, apparently that's the same message he's gotten from the Seattle Seahawks and any other team that he's visited, from what I've been reading. We will see if he lands somewhere or if everybody was just kind of kicking tires waiting to see what they end up with once cut down day happened and the waiver wire has processed.
And I don't know the situations with those other teams, but the situation here, if I'm a veteran like him, I'm thinking, with the starting guards the Bengals have, a rookie and Lucas Patrick, who has
journeyman
shined. Yeah.
Journeyman.
I would think my chance to start might be pretty darn good here. And again, I don't know what's going on at the other places and how they are at guard, but I would think he would have a good chance to step in here and contribute a lot.
Well, we'll see. Kickoff is September 7th, I believe. And that's when
the Labor Day is this Monday, right?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. Yeah, so it would be the 7th is Sunday. I didn't know Labor Day was – that's what happens when you retire. You just lose all track of everything.
But the Bengals, they kick off at 1 o'clock on September 7th. They are currently 5.5-point favorites over the Browns, and you can catch Cleveland at plus 225 if you're betting the money line. An over-under of 46.5. We'll see.
Line, well, I was going to say the Bengals might do that themselves, but the Browns have a pretty good defense.
That line could always change depending on what happens with waiver wire and all of that.
I'm excited to see this Bengals offense, though. I really am. I just they're loaded of weapons and everything you're seeing and what we saw of Chase Brown in the preseason games and his time. I mean, this dude's ready. He's ready, and that gives them those wide receivers. You got tight ends that can play. Joe Burrow's got the one big issue, though, is keeping him upright, and that's what they got. It seems like that's always what we're talking about, but it's going to be fun to watch, and I pray that Joe just does not hang on to the ball too long every time and try to make things happen. Just live for the next down. And he knows all this way better than I could ever convey it to him. But I think he probably, if that wasn't in the front of his mind coming into the preseason, it was after that game a week ago.
Well, switching gears, the Cincinnati Reds are in the midst of a West Coast trip. We talked about that upcoming West Coast trip last time we talked. Since then, they took 2 of 3 from the Angels. They lost 2 of 3 to the Diamondbacks. Damn near, I was really nervous they were going to get swept.
I was thinking of you when they pulled that out.
Look, I don't care if you keep this streak alive or not, but you got to be worried about winning 2 or 3 of 3, not worrying about.
I don't think they're thinking of that. I just think it's kind of funny that a team that scuffles like this one, right around, what are they, 4 above 500?
Yep.
But they haven't been swept yet. It's just a weird stat. But I think if they don't get their heads out of their butts here in Los Angeles, it's going to happen there.
Well, they get shut out last night, 7-0 in LA against the Dodgers. They take them on again tonight. That first pitch is in about 15 minutes. They did not look good. And in the meantime, George, Sal Stewart is down in AAA, beating the shit out of the ball.
Had a home run tonight, I think.
He did. His 10th in, I believe, 34 games, if I remember that statistic correctly. When you have a team who is struggling this much with offense, as they have at times pretty much all season, and you've got a guy tearing the cover off the ball down in the minors, I understand that there's certain things where if you wait a little bit longer, you get an extra year where you don't have to do arbitration. That's all well and good. But at some point, you just have to do, especially when you have pretty much no salary at this point. You're dealing with all rookie deals anyway.
And you're in a playoff chase.
You're a game and a half
playoffs.
A game and a half out. You have to continue every single day to find the best 26 people at this level. And right now, it doesn't feel like they're doing that when you have Sal Stewart still just biding time in AAA.
Yeah, and obviously Brian Hayes has been playing really well since they picked him up.
He's been hitting well.
But there's a place to there's ways to make this work. I don't know what they're
Matt
doing.
McClain is the odd man out.
Yes, without a doubt. It's just not, and I'm not saying you give up on him. I think he'll bounce back next year.
He could use the tune-up. You send him down to AAA to get a tune-up.
Right.
He can't get out. He's in his head. There's no way he's not in his head.
Right.
Espinal, he's not a guy who's a part of your future rebuild, I wouldn't think.
No,
absolutely if you're worried about what to do, he's expendable.
Right.
In my opinion. Hector Rodriguez, another guy at AAA who's been hitting it really well. He had a home run tonight also.
He's been pretty consistently hitting it the past couple of years.
I'm just saying there's another guy where you have to start thinking, do I want to make these roster moves before September 1st to make sure if I do make the playoffs, I have these two bats available to me? And if so, I think I just named your two casualties. Now, that said, that would probably involve moving Gavin Lux out of your outfield and playing him at second base. And then you're certainly giving something up defensively at second. I would going from Matt McClain to Gavin Lux. If you're getting rid of Espinal, you've lost some backup there in your infield as well. But there's things you have to consider if you want to try and put your best 26 out there every single day.
Yeah, no, I totally hear you, and they're kind of sitting on their hands with this. And look at what they have coming up too. Okay, they're in Los Angeles now. I hope they get a win before they get out of there. I hope they do. Well, then you got the Cardinals, then the Blue Jays who are tearing it up. So that homestand is the Cardinals, the Blue Jays who are tearing it up, and the Mets who you're battling for that wild card spot. And now they've kind of got their legs back under them a little bit. They finally kind of righted the ship, and they're at least playing winning baseball again. So this is it for me. This story could be over by the end of this road trip and the 9-game homestand. I think it's 9 games with the Blue Jays, Mets, and Cardinals. That's going to tell the tale.
You asked how serious this team is about winning. And tonight, against the Dodgers, who just shut them out, Espinal is starting in right field in the 8-hole.
And Marte's in center, right?
And Marte is in center field.
Yeah. Which that's a kid that just moved to the outfield. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I don't know what to tell you on this one. I'm kind of like just stymied on the whole thing.
Well, you have a center fielder who's played center field on your bench currently. Will Benson can play the position. He's played the position. I don't know what you're doing throwing Marte against the Dodgers in the middle of a playoff race.
And I'll tell you, a conversation for another day. But I'm telling you what, and I know Ellie's not 100% with that leg and all that, and it's glaringly obvious, but that should be your center fielder eventually. Because you can't have plays at shortstop like he had last night. You're down 3-0.
Terrible. It was
and
terrible.
you have the bases loaded and the ball goes through the wickets, and now it's 5-0. And I'm sorry, the way the Reds hit the ball, you're done at 5-0. 3-0, you still have a chance.
Not against the Dodgers. Not at 5-0.
Right.
I don't know. It's hard for me to believe that they're taking things seriously when you're starting Espinal in right field while Will Benson is on your bench. I don't care that it's Clayton Kershaw and you're doing righty-lefty matchups. Espinal, he's a wasted at bat. And Matt McLean is probably just as much a wasted at bat at this point, even being in the bigs.
Kershaw is pitching pretty well.
In any case, it's maddening what this front office does on a daily basis, despite looking really good on the trades that they made at the deadline.
Yeah, those guys they've all been help.
Yep. So I don't know what we're doing.
But here's another one for you though, and I know you can't control injuries and stuff, but it's just I just find it humorous that you're carrying 3 catchers all that time. Now you got 1, and you call up a dude, and God bless him, but he was hitting like 212 in the minors. It's like, how does this happen?
And you were in an extra innings game where you were afraid for him to make his debut pinch running because you didn't know if he could actually catch the pitcher.
Right. I know. I don't get it. Did they not carry 3 catchers earlier this year? And didn't they do that? Was it last year? It just doesn't make sense.
I don't want to talk about them anymore. I hate them. As far as the standings go,
they are exasperating.
As far as the standings go, they're 14 games back on Milwaukee. They're not catching Milwaukee, not with 30 games or so left. That ship has sailed, but in the wild card, like you said, right now they currently stand at 2.5 out behind the Mets, who I'm not sure what they're doing tonight. Let's see. They're in the middle of the 8th, tied 5-5 with the Phillies. So
the geeks at Fangraphs say they have an 8% chance to get that wild card. 8%, and they're only a game and a half out.
I think a week ago they were at 18. So
yeah. Well, they got a lot of tough games coming up. I don't care if they're at home or not. They got a lot of tough games.
Last but not least, as we switch gears one final time, FC Cincinnati takes the L. 1-0. Is it nil?
They were awful by now.
Is it 1-0 against New York City FC, who's not very good? It's enough to knock Cincinnati into second place on the table, but they do play Philadelphia, who's in first place on the table this Saturday.
I need to go to that game. They played like what on Saturday, and
which did they have their new guys because they were heralded as being the best team to pull off what they did in at the 12th hour of the transfer window for the MLS.
Yeah, no, I don't think so, but they will this week.
As you bring back Brenner, and
they got enough firepower. They probably have more firepower than anybody now.
And you also brought back somebody else. Not back, but you brought in, I believe, another defensive player.
Mm-hmm. They're still in a good spot, and they usually get up for Philly. I mean, that's kind of been a little bit of a rivalry here. They lost to them in the playoffs a couple of years ago. Obviously, the GM and the coach are from there. or were with that franchise. So yeah, I think they'll be ready to go this Saturday. That should be one hell of a game to watch. It really should.
Well, in any case, it can't be worse than losing 1-0. You can't do that again, and I don't expect them to.
That was just a flat game. Just a flat game. And high school football, off and running, big first weekend.
Yeah. What you got?
Oh, no. I'll tell you one that surprised me. It shouldn't surprise me that Anderson scored 52 points, but they blasted Cooper. That's a darn good team on opening weekend. But, yeah, I mean, St. X over Lakota West, that was another classic, close game, 14-7. Moeller beating Princeton and that old rivalry that goes – I mean, that was the game of the year every year back in the 70s and really into through the 80s. That was just such a big game. But Moeller took care of business. Coming up this week, big games. Highlands, who had an opening week win, double overtime win, will be at Cooper. So that's a big game. Covcath at Elder. Covcath coming off a loss to Ryle on Friday night. Winton Woods at Kings. The Eastern Cincinnati Conference. Talk about not fooling around. Opening week of conference play. You got Winton Woods at Kings. West Claremont, who was impressive on the opening weekend at Anderson. So that's kind of a rivalry game too, two close schools. So terrific games again this weekend. But I went to a game last week and it didn't turn out to be very competitive, but it was great to watch. I mean, you just saw some funny stuff. That's a thing. These high school football games, every week you go to one and you just see something crazy that happens on the field that you just don't see every week. It's like you just can't predict it. It's a lot of fun to watch.
Who are you looking forward to this week?
Well, I'm looking forward to Highlands at Cooper because Cooper has got to be one PO team after what happened at Anderson. And Highlands is always pretty good. And I don't know how good that team is. Highlands beaten double overtime last week. But Highlands always is going to bring it. I think that's a good one. But those Eastern Cincinnati Conference games are going to be good too. Winton Woods at Kings and West Claremont and Anderson. I would think Anderson just is I mean, their coach does such a phenomenal job, and everyone thinks of them as this offensive juggernaut, and they are. I mean, they just don't stop. It is just go, 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 go. But their defense is always pretty good too. So it's going to be a tough game for West Claremont, but I'm going to be interested to see what that final is.
All right, 48 hours from now, we will be an hour into your Bearcats' first game of the season, taking on Nebraska at Arrowhead. I can't wait, but I don't know that I got anything left in the tank for tonight, George.
Nope, we'll get ready for Thursday.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap up another episode of George in the Jungle. Thanks, as always, to Cincy Light and Remington Tavern. Remington Tavern can be found at 8892 Glendale Milford Road, 45140, where they have their daily happy hour from 3 to 7 p.m., $5 bourbon whiskey Wednesdays, bottle cap bonanza Thursdays from 7 to 9 p.m. Check them out on Instagram at RemingTavCincy or follow them on Facebook. But for George Vogel, I'm Aaron Smith. We'll be back here next Tuesday at 9 p.m. to discuss all of your Cincinnati sports.
Thank you.